Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam.
Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam.
Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha.
Ascharyavat vadaiva tadaiva chanyaha.
Ascharyavat chainamanya shrinoti.
Ascharyavat chainamanya shrinoti.
Shrutva kenam vedana chaiva kaschet.
Shrutva kenam vedana kaschet.
Srila Prabhupada's translation. Some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing. Some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Srila Prabhupada's purport or commentary. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of the Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.7. Shravanayapi bahubhiryo nalabhyaha shrinvantopi bahavoyam navidyuho ascharya vakta kushalosya labdha ascharyasya jnata kushalanusishtaha. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful, either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding, even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution to the material miseries. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of the super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul, the atomic soul, their respective functions and relationships, and all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul, and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. Can you repeat the translation after me? Some look on the soul as amazing.
Some look on the soul as amazing.
Some describe him as amazing.
Some describe him as amazing.
And some hear of him as amazing.
And some hear of him as amazing.
While others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam. So you will notice that the phrase Ascharyavat is found in 3 lines of this verse. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam. Ascharyavat means amazing. Vat indicates full of. So Ascharyavat means full of amazement. So the soul is something very amazing, full of amazement. So some people see him as amazing, some people hear of him as amazing, some people understand him to be amazing, and some people can't understand the soul at all. So the very beginning of the talk, I will answer the question that has been posed or the statement that has been made in the topic. Understanding the hidden power within us. Here is that hidden power. That amazing soul, Ascharyavat. It is full of amazement, full of amazing powers, full of amazing capacities. So unleashing the power within means to unleash the power of the soul. Lecture over. Finished. Yes. Or we may think, well, I've come hoping for a big lecture, finishing off the lecture in 10 minutes. So okay, then I'll continue since I'm expected to speak for a longer period of time. You see, even in modern, now since we have doctors and dentists and pharmacists and so many others here, you know, the human body itself is a very amazing thing. The fact that it functions itself is an amazement. The interaction in such an intricate manner, such a subtle and complex manner of so many different organs and different parts of the organs, right down to the level of the cells and tissues. It is just amazing how this body is able to function. Even one small tiny bacteria or microbe is so complex. It's more complex than our most powerful supercomputer. If you look at all the genetic material that is stored in the cell, in the nucleus, and if you try to decode that and write some software for that and understand how it is programmed, it is mind-boggling. And the fact that all these, for even one cell itself is amazing. And then you have so many cells that make a tissue. And they have to gel together very nicely. And then you have many tissues that make an organ. And then you have many organs that have to combine together, cooperate together. And then the individual living entity can function, the body can function. And this goes on for a whole lifetime. Everything around us is amazing. For one who has the eyes to see, the intelligence to see, the vision to see, everything is sheer amazement. Look at it at even the macroscopic cosmic scale. The fact that planets are moving around, the stars and constellations are there, and there is such precise harmony in the way the celestial objects move, and you can predict the motion of the celestial objects with so much precision. The cosmos is full of wonders beyond our imagination. And we're not even yet going to talk, we're not even speaking yet about the scriptures. We are talking only of what modern man has discovered through his own efforts. So the whole universe, whether it is at the cosmic scale, whether it is at the planetary scale, whether it is at the level of the individual body or the individual cell or even the atom, everything is amazing. And then how the ecological balance works here, how these different living entities cooperate and interact, the kind of synergy that is there between these different organisms. They rely on each other. Even if one thing is cut, then there is chaos. There is a complex chain of interdependency that has been woven into this creation. many years ago, when there was a communist revolution in China, the leader there was called Mao Zedong. And there used to be problems with the farmers that they had these pests like sparrows and rats and such entities coming and eating up the grains. So he had some brainwave, Mao Zedong, and he decided that the whole country would go on a campaign to kill all the sparrows and all the rats, and I think it's a third species, I forget, one or two more. There was some big movement that happened. And they went on it on such a big scale. The entire population was geared up for that. And they had rules, strict rules. Every single citizen had to participate in that. So much so that they had people who would bang pots and go near every tree so that no sparrow would be able to sit on the tree, because the moment they heard the sound of the banging, they would fly away. And thousands and millions of sparrows died of exhaustion because they didn't have a place to land. Yes, and then in this way they killed millions of sparrows and these other living entities. Now, what they did not understand was that each entity in this world has a very important place in the ecological cycle. And you remove even one entity, there is chaos. Because there is the effect of one leading to the other, and there is a chain effect. And so what happened was, because some of these rats and snakes, I think it was also perhaps, and sparrows at least, so they also eat some pests that come into the agricultural fields. So now that these predators were not there, the pests started growing and there was a huge famine. For years and years they didn't have any solution to the famine, and finally they gave up this campaign and realized it was a huge mistake. It was a big, gigantic blunder that they made. Because the agricultural situation deteriorated to such a degree, there was famine for many years, and many thousands upon thousands of people died. So we get to see that human beings cannot understand how amazing this creation is, how every entity is dependent on another entity, and how we are dependent on even the smallest of entities in this world. Even the bacteria in the soil, if we remove them, then our plants will not grow properly. There will be so many other effects. Even the bacteria in our body, the bacteria in the sky, there are good bacteria, bad bacteria. We fail to understand how intricately this whole world has been designed. And still there are some people who say there is no God. What to do? Yes? Such an intricate, complex arrangement. All this is happening by chance? Is not this creation itself such an amazing exhibition of supreme intelligence, design, planning? So we must consider things very deeply, and we must take the messages of Bhagavad Gita very deeply. So even if we superficially are aware of how amazing the creation is, the deeper you go into it, the more you will get amazed. Even very thoughtful scientists like Albert Einstein, and there was some like Max Planck, etc., they could see that even though they were not traditional believers in God in the regular religious sense, but they developed a sense of awe and amazement at the way this universe was structured and designed. And they felt that there must be something that is behind this, some superior intelligence behind it. So the more one intelligently studies the creation around us, the more we will be amazed. Go deep into something And you will see that. So all experts in all fields, actually speaking, if they are open-minded and intelligent, will see their own subject as a means or via medium of revealing the utter amazement in the world. So a chemist will look into chemistry and say, my God, this is so fantastic. The way these chemicals and molecules are interacting, how these laws are made. So a good chemist should become a devotee of God, should believe in God. So whether it is mathematics or biology or any field of study, whether one is a poet or philosopher, even an accountant, everyone should look and see the wonders of things, and yes, we should believe. So definitely there is amazement. So there is amazement at everything that we study around us. And this is just at this level. Now consider, for example, the human body. Now it is an accepted fact that today we tap only a small percentage of the potential that is afforded by this body. If you train this body, then you can do things that may be astounding. How many of you can swim the English Channel and go from England to Australia to France? How many of you can do that? But do you think it's possible? Has it been done before?
Yes.
By a human being?
Yes.
Swimming across?
Yes.
But you and I can't imagine such a thing. Yes, the very prospect, how many miles is it at the closest point? From England, from Dover to France. How many miles? Anyway, long enough. Long enough. So can you imagine swimming across the English Channel? And I remember from my school days, we had a person called Mihir Sen, and that time I was a schoolboy. He had done it. He had swum across the English Channel. He had also swum across the Pork Strait from India to Sri Lanka. So such acts of astonishing power, how did they do it? Because it's there within, latent within the body to do such a thing. But you have to train the body. So similarly, there are people who are athletes, who can do things that you and I as ordinary people can't even imagine doing. But they have trained themselves, they have subjected themselves to discipline, and they've had tremendous determination. And they have unleashed a certain potential of the physical body. In so many areas of sports and such physical endeavors. There are other such endeavors when it comes to intelligence. People have applied their minds and come up with wonderful creations. Now it is also said that the human brain is capable of things we also cannot imagine. It has tremendous potential. And presently we are able to tap only a small percentage of its capacity. Random figures, I don't know what they say today in terms of modern research, but I would say 10%, 20% is a very small percentage of the functioning of the brain. Even the memory power, if you train it properly, your memory capacity for memory can increase manifold. So not just at the gross physical level, by training and determination can you increase the capacity and do wonderful things, but even for the mind and the intelligence and memory and such things, you can do all sorts of wonderful things. So therefore the capacity of the human body, whether it's the gross body, the physical body, or whether it's a subtle body like the mind, the intelligence, etc., is amazing. I don't know whether it's happening here, but in India it is catching on in a big rage. There are classes that are going on for this. Psychological techniques are being used to make children see things and understand things that we cannot normally do. For example, children being blindfolded, and then they can recognize color. They get some sort of intuitive power. And there are children who, and I know so many like that, at least 4, they can do things like some kind of telepathic power or something, that they can read which card you have in your hand, or some things like that. And they can predict things that you and I can't say. They have a sense of understanding so many things. Of course, our ancient yogis have been aware of this from the beginning. So there are certain latent powers that can be unleashed by yogic practice. But even that is a little higher than the psychological platform. It's not spiritual, but it's somewhere on the psychological plane. So we see, we can settle in first, otherwise the thought flow gets disturbed. Yes. Everyone can settle down if you're... It's a long time to stand if you want to. Yeah. So you're comfortable. Yeah, I think this is the maximum we can squeeze in, isn't it? Okay. So the point is that even for the body, the mind, the intelligence, amazing things can be done beyond our imagination. Just imagine what could be done if we were able to unleash our spiritual potential. The physical potential of the gross body, the brain, the mind, intelligence, memory, all of these things I spoke about. Now the real hidden potential is not in our body and brain and mind and intelligence. It is in our soul. That is why the soul is called Ascharyavat. It is amazing. The kind of potential that is there can be unleashed. And a hint of that is given in the verse that we just read today, a few minutes ago. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that this one tiny particle of spiritual energy, and it is so small, it can power not just the body of a microbe or a bacterium, but also the body of a whale, or of an elephant, of a giraffe. Compare the sizes of the two. On one hand you have a bacterium or a microbe, a germ. And the other hand you have a blue whale or an elephant, gigantic body. And it is the same soul that is powering both the bodies. It's like saying that you can power the whole city of London with one battery. Your 1.5 volt that you use in your torch or something, you just put it there. And can it power? It's impossible, it cannot do it. You need huge power generation units to generate the power supply required for London. But here just see how this one little tiny soul, which has a dimension of 1/10,000th of the tip of a hair, can actually power such a gigantic body like that of an elephant. Isn't that itself a hint that the soul can do truly amazing things? This in and of itself is amazing. That this one tiny particle can power the body of an elephant or a whale. So therefore, what more can the soul do? For that we need to understand the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains that we are all the spirit souls. We are all chit kana, particles of spiritual energy. We are not this material body. We are spiritual entities. And by understanding our spiritual nature, we can revive that original spiritual power. That original power that is latent within us can be revived. The brain has that latent power, therefore it was possible to revive it. The human body has that latent power, so by practice, etc., it can be brought out. Similarly, the soul has latent power that goes far, far beyond what the human body, mind and intelligence can do. So how do we bring it out? We bring it out by a process. We have to be reminded. We have to be trained. We have to be taught. I will tell you a little story from the Ramayana. When Hanuman was born, he had tremendous power because he was the son of Vayu, the wind god, who was exceptionally powerful. And he was so powerful because he was a child, he did not even know his power. So when he playfully did some pranks or did some mischief, he would cause havoc everywhere, unintentionally, but it would happen. So he even went in the midst of great sages and completely caused chaos over there. So these great sages were thinking what to do, how to control this boy. And he is protected by a benediction that given by all the demigods, that he would have tremendous power and that nobody would be able to kill him and he would not be subject to curses and so many benedictions. So the Brahmins were thinking what to do. So then they decided, okay, we will curse this boy that he will forget his power. And only when someone reminds him of his power will he get his power back. Because if you don't know that you have the power, you won't use it. If you think that you are very weak, even though you are very strong, then you will hesitate to use it because you don't know that you have that power. Let's say hypothetically somebody had the ability to fly but didn't know. That person would never try to go and fly. Only when he came to know that I have the ability to fly, then he would go and try flying. So Hanuman also, after that curse, he forgot that he had so much power. So he became very meek, humble, quiet. And years went by. And the time came when Sita, or Devi, was kidnapped by Ravana and taken away. And Lord Ram and Lord Lakshman went looking for Sita. They came to Kishkindha Kshetra near Pampa Sarovar, the Rishyamukha mountain. And there they made an alliance with Sugriva, the king of, or the deposed king of Kishkindha, whose close associate was Hanuman. And immediately Hanuman, Sugriva and their followers, they all became devotees of Lord Ram. And Hanuman then decided that he would also assist in finding Sita Devi and bringing her back. So Sugriv then arranged search parties to go in all the directions to search for Sita. One of the parties was led by Angad, the son of Bali, the brother of Sugriva. So when this search party went to a certain place, there was a vulture who was a brother of Jatayu, whose name was Sampati. So Sampati informed them, yes, I have very sharp eyes, even though I'm very old. As you know, eagles, vultures, etc., they have very sharp vision. So he said, I can see far away across the sea, there in Lanka, in the Ashok Vatika, in the Ashoka grove, there is Sita sitting there, being held captive by Ravana. So then they decided they have to jump over. They didn't have aircraft and ships and all of that. So how to jump over such a distance? So then they had a meeting and everyone was asked, how much can you jump and back? The distance was 800 yojanas. Someone said, I can only go 100. Or maybe it was 100 yojanas, I think. So someone said, I can only do 10. Someone said only 20. Someone 50. Someone 80. Jambavan said, when I was a young man, I could have easily done it. I could have circumambulated the whole world 3 times. But now I'm very old. I can barely do 80. Then somebody said, I can do 100. Angad said, but I can't come back. I won't have the energy to fly back. I can jump from here to Lanka, but I won't be able to come back. Then there was silence. Jambavan was the only one who knew about the curse on Hanuman. And now Jambavan realized it was the time to unleash that secret hidden potential of Hanuman. So I said, Hanuman, you are very powerful. You have forgotten how strong you are. Just test it out. So Hanuman remembered, oh yes, I am very powerful. And then once he remembered that, then he expanded his body to gigantic proportions. And then, like a rocket, he took off from the Mahendra mountain and he reached all the way to Lanka, across the sea. And then you know the story, he wreaked havoc over there. He met Sita Devi also, gave her Lord Ram's ring, got a message back from her, and he jumped all the way back. So Hanuman could rediscover his hidden power when he was reminded of it. So similarly, we are the spirit souls, but somehow or the other, by misuse of our free will, we have forgotten that we are spiritual entities. We think we are this material body. So therefore, we do not have access to that hidden spiritual potential that is there within us to do wonderful things. But somebody like Jambavan has to come and tell us, you have forgotten your potential. You are not this body. You are the Atma. You are the spirit soul. You have nothing to do with matter. You are a spiritual entity. You belong to the spiritual world, not to this material world. So then gradually we start coming back to our original memory. Just like a patient of who is suffering from amnesia due to some trauma, let's say an accident or something, may get back his memory slowly. Initially he may wake up and say, who am I, where am I? But gradually he starts recognizing a few people, and the whole process may take a little time. So as the treatment continues, his memory starts coming back to him. So similarly, our spiritual memory will come back to us gradually, step by step, as we take to a spiritual process of rediscovering our own original identity as spirit souls. We have now forgotten this vast treasure, so we have to revive it. This morning at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, I was giving a lecture and I was mentioning one parable, one kind of a story that was told by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That there was an astrologer who went to the house of somebody and he saw that that person was suffering like anything because he was very poor. So the astrologer told him, why are you morose like this? You don't have to suffer. I want to inform you of something that you have forgotten. You have a father who is very rich. Your father actually passed away before he could tell you that he had buried a vast treasure, and that treasure is now yours. So this is the first point, that this man who thought himself to be very poor was informed that actually he had inherited vast treasure. So therefore now he need not be worried about poverty. He was rich. There was only one stumbling block. What was that? Where is the treasure hidden? He didn't know that. So then the astrologer said, okay, I will tell you in which direction it is hidden. Don't go to the other three directions, the south, the west and the north, because there are different types of entities there. In the southern direction there are these bees and wasps who will sting you and bite you. That represents the process of ritualistic religion, of trying to use religion as a vehicle for attaining some material goals. If you need good money, a lot of money, then pray to this devata. Yes, I want this, please give me money. If you want some other thing, then pray to some other god and do some puja for that god so you can get some other enjoyment or some position or something like that. So this process is not genuine spiritual life, and it will not give us real happiness. The other side, the western side, is a path where there is a ghost, and that ghost will attack you. The astrologer told him, so don't go there. So the ghost represents the process of mental speculation, trying to understand God, trying to understand ourselves and the world around us just by our own intelligence and speculation. That can lead us nowhere. We will only get lost. It will only create anxiety in the mind. On the northern side, he said there is a big black snake waiting to devour you. That is like the process of yoga to try to find out the soul, where also the goal is to merge, to become God. You get also some sub-secondary mystic powers and you get distracted by that and think that this is what real spiritual life is all about. So the astrologer told him the real treasure is not in these directions, the real treasure in the eastern direction. And that treasure is Bhakti Yoga. So for the person who has lost, who thought he was poor, represents the living entity in this world, all of us, who have forgotten that we have such a treasure. We have a very rich Father. We don't have to worry. And that rich Father is Lord Krishna. And once we understand that Lord Krishna is giving us a great treasure, what is that great treasure? He will give us immortality, eternal life. He will give us complete knowledge, and He will give us complete bliss. Unending, uninterrupted bliss, and ever-expanding bliss in the world that is beyond this material world, in the spiritual world. That is the treasure that He's going to give us. After all, when we try to live in this world and we do many things, we try to do it for the sake of getting some happiness. If somebody seeks money, it's because he or she thinks that by getting money I will be happy. So ultimately what we're looking for is happiness. We are all afraid of death. We are all afraid of disease. We are all afraid of old age. We are afraid of so many sufferings and anxieties that will come into our life. So if we are placed in a situation where we will have none of these things forever, will that not be the greatest treasure of our life? All that money can buy in this world is some temporary pleasure. Even if we get a huge chest of diamonds and gold and so on, how much can you enjoy? Finally death will come, and then we will have to leave everything behind. So the capacity of the treasures of this world to attain real happiness is very limited. Only temporary. But this treasure of Bhakti Yoga, of Krishna consciousness, of trying to love and serve Lord Krishna, with whom we have an eternal relationship of love, that will give us the greatest treasure of real, pure spiritual love, ultimate bliss and happiness. So we have to go down there. What greater hidden power can there be than getting rid of death? What greater power can there be than conquering disease, old age, and being fully happy always, all the time, eternally? And this is possible by this process of Krishna consciousness. Because the soul is eternally linked to Lord Krishna in love. So the process of reviving this treasure is first of all to understand who I am, who is Lord Krishna, what is our relationship with each other. It is a relationship of love. Now we have to act according to it. This is called Bhakti Yoga. Yoga means to connect, yuj. So we connect with God, who is our source, by bhakti, by loving service. So when we lovingly serve Lord Krishna, then automatically our memory starts coming back. Gradually, as things go on with service, our memory comes back. I am the spirit soul. I am part and parcel of Lord Krishna eternally. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyai sevon mukhe jivvado swayam eva spuratyadaha. One cannot understand these spiritual subjects. One cannot have access to that priceless spiritual treasure with one's gross material senses and intelligence. One has to purify one's senses and intelligence by spiritual practices. Then by spiritual intelligence, through our spiritual senses, we will be able to perceive and experience the spiritual world, even though we are still here in this world. And then when time comes for us to die, to leave this world, then we will go back to that spiritual world. The soul will not have to appear here in this material world to suffer in the cycle of birth and death. So this is that hidden power that has to be unleashed. We are not meant to be here in the material world, which is a place of misery. Imagine, for example, if there is a son of a billionaire and he forgets that he has this father who's a billionaire and he sits on the street and is homeless and is begging. He's a homeless beggar. How unfortunate it is. His father is a billionaire and here he is begging on the street. So if someone goes to him and tells him, look, come back to your father. This is your father. Don't you remember? Oh, is he? My father. Okay. And then he introduces him to the father. And he may have many objections. Even if he knew, let's say he had a fight with his father and left home and went away and then was reduced to poverty. But somebody, some well-wisher will come and say, look, don't let ego come in the middle. He's your father. Come back to him. And then he comes back to the father and everything is well. He's able to live such a comfortable life. Imagine, where is the life in the billionaire's home? And what is the quality of life of this homeless person lying on the street, getting intoxicated, suffering heat, cold, lack of food, hunger? That precisely is the position of the soul. That precisely is our position in this world. We are meant to be with our billionaire father, Lord Krishna, in the spiritual world. But having forgotten him, we are here, undergoing the misery of birth and death in this world. Even the process of birth is very painful. None of us remember it. Our mothers will remember it. Because when we were born, our mother went through tremendous pain. That's why it's called labor pain. not labor pleasure. And the mother has pain, the child has pain, and the child has to sit in the mother's womb for 9 months. And even after being born in this body again, so many troubles. You have to go to school, you don't want to go to school, but your parents will force you to go. You want to play, you're not allowed to play. You want to eat this, you want to do that, all the time you're restricted. Even when you grow up, you're restricted. Constant hindrances all over the place. So birth is a very miserable state of existence. It's enormous suffering. In fact, when the child is born, the pain is so tremendous for the child that the entire memory and consciousness of the child is erased. Both birth and death are traumatic experiences which erase previous memory. In the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the child in the womb actually comes to consciousness and is able to understand its situation. And in some rare cases, that child may also say, "My dear Lord, I'm in this miserable state in my mother's womb. I promise you I will become your devotee. Never again will I deviate." And then when he comes out of the womb, because of that Shatavayu, that's also described, a certain kind of wind that comes in, because of the Shatavayu, the child's memory is spoiled. He comes out crying. Nobody comes out smiling and laughing. In fact, if the child doesn't come out crying, the doctor will beat the child on the bottom to make it cry, so its respiratory function will happen. So even if you don't cry, somebody will force you to cry. That is the nature of this world. Yes? And then at death, everybody goes away crying also. "Oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. Why? So in the beginning we come crying, we go crying, and all through life also we are crying. I want this, I want that, I want this, I don't have this. Why did he say this to me? Why this happened to me? This is our life. So this material existence is not a dignified state of existence for the spirit soul, inasmuch as the lying homeless, lying on the street, on the pavement, is not a dignified state of life for the child of a billionaire. So we are meant to be with Krishna. So now, having realized our realistic position in this world and what is our real goal, we should take shelter of Lord Krishna. That is the essential message of the Bhagavad Gita. So one great saint has sung, "Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahu dustare, kripaya pare pahi murare." So this saint says, Punarapi jananam. Punarapi means again. To again take birth, jananam. Punarapi maranam, again to die after having been born. And after dying, Punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Janani means mother. Jathare means in the womb. Shayanam means to sleep. So once again being born, once again dying, after dying, once again sleeping or lying in the womb of another mother. Iha samsare bahu dustare. Oh, this material world is full of misery. Oh Murari, oh Lord Krishna, please deliver me from this miserable state of existence in this material world. I am taking shelter at your lotus feet. Please bring me back to the spiritual world, which is your home and which is my home also. And it is in the spiritual world that we will realize a life that is beyond our wildest dreams. In the material world, we can only dream, and the dreams mostly become nightmares. I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to do this, and then so many other problems come in, and we wonder, why did I ever dream that? But in the spiritual world, that is the ultimate blissful reality which we are meant to achieve. So by realizing that, we will unleash the true hidden power and the potential of all of us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments? Yes, Madan Mohan.
Thank you for Maharaj. It's a topic given, but you brought us so much amazing power from that topic to very one. We never had this before. And when we come like this program and okay, it really makes sense, we have to become love Krishna and serve Krishna. But as soon as we go out of this door and we forget and we become all as usual, how to overcome and make a commitment, what is making us to do like that? How does it affect us if we don't come again regularly?
Okay, your question is that so long as we are sitting here in a spiritual gathering, we are in good consciousness, we remember all these things, but the moment we step out, we tend to forget. So what should we do? The answer is you should come again and again to such spiritual gatherings.
How to, because people do not respond. Only some occasionally respond, not as usual, no time.
Yes, what to do? What to do? Hidden talent is there, hidden power is there, but we have to be willing to unleash that power. Nobody can force anyone. Nobody could have forced Mihir Sen to swim the English Channel. It is only when he realized, I must swim, that he was able to unleash that power within him by practice, determination. So similarly, it is within everybody's heart. So by gradually associating with devotees, by hearing the messages of Bhagavad Gita, slowly, it sinks in. For some people it may take a little longer, for some people it may take a shorter time, whatever it is, but one should try to understand this philosophy. It is not just sentimental stuff. There is a great body of knowledge, there is a great philosophy behind this. So one should try to reflect on the messages of Lord Krishna. Then one will feel inspired to come back to the association of devotees more and more. One who desires his or her welfare, truly speaking, must take shelter of the association of devotees in this world. Beyond that, everyone has their own time. They will come when they are ready for it. We can only encourage, but we cannot force. Even Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, after explaining the whole Bhagavad Gita, Yathicchasi tatha kuru. I have said what I had to say, my dear Arjuna. Now, yatha ichchasi, as you think, as you desire, tatha kuru, you do like that, you do that. So we have free will, and everyone has the will to decide how much they want to get involved in spiritual activities, how much this kind of process appeals to them. They have to use their intelligence, understand this knowledge. Once they understand it, then they will submit to the process. Yes?
Any secret? You give tips to make this post come out of the heart?
Any
generally working with the outside world, engaging with so many things. What can they do to have this feeling to come?
What can they do to increase the feeling to want to come back?
Yes.
Yes?
Nice prasad.
Nice prasadam. Yes. But if somebody is not inclined, he will say, well, I can get nice food there also. They say that. You know, sometimes in life, unfortunately though it may be, sometimes it just requires a little experience of the world to get a little hard knock to be able to do that. But one who's wise just listens and thinks, yes, I must do it. It makes sense. So I must do it. But yes, it is the responsibility of devotees to make sure that they are in touch with everybody and invite them, take care of them. Because the initial periods especially are very sensitive. Our faith is very tender. So even some little bad experience outside or somewhere, they can think, oh, why did this happen to me? And then they may leave the process. So there needs to be some proper care, spiritual care given so that their questions and doubts are answered. There is some encouragement given to them, but not pressure, not force, but encouragement. That will also induce people to keep coming back.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yes.
Does God decide the time, the date we are born and the time we died? We have to die.
Okay, does God decide the time of our birth, death, etc.? God does not directly decide. It happens through the workings of the laws of this material nature. It is according to our karma that we have performed in previous lives that a certain type of destiny accrues to us. So destiny is nothing but the reactions of our past activities. So we can't blame anyone for our destiny except ourselves. So according to our activities in previous lives, our destiny in this life will decide. So there are certain things that are decided, pre-decided. Where you will be born, what family you will be born in, what will be the sum total of your happiness and distress in this life, when will you die, how will you die. By when is counted in terms of number of breaths, not necessarily in time scales that we may compute. So there are certain things that are decided according to our destiny. And when we take to Bhakti Yoga, we even try to go beyond our destiny, because that is a spiritual process. But normally the laws of material nature will act in this way. So therefore, if somebody is not destined to become a billionaire, no matter how hard that person may struggle and work, no matter how capable and intelligent that person is, if it's not destined for that person, he or she will not become a billionaire. And sometimes, without wanting to, something falls in your lap. So a lot of money just comes from somewhere. Some uncle leaves you something, something happens. Any other questions?
Well,
Yes.
I keep on skipping like my rounds. How do you get more motivated and complete every day?
So don't skip your rounds. Very simple. You know that you shouldn't skip, so don't do it. Very simple. And to increase your determination to not skip, you come to such programs on a regular basis. You hear properly the messages, read the books, Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada has written so many nice books, read them. In this way your determination will increase. Okay? Any other question? Somebody was... yes.
Why do this material world exist then? For example, if everyone has a Krishna consciousness and everyone become a part of the Krishna, shouldn't there would be no one here? So why do we...
How wonderful it would be. Your question is that what is the purpose of this material world? If everyone became Krishna conscious, there would be no need for the material world to exist. It's a very valid question. This material world is like a jail, which is meant for those who violate the laws of God. Who stays in a jail? Somebody who violates the laws of the state. So who stays in the material world? Those who have violated the laws of God. So in the jail, you are expected to reform. One of the intentions of having a jail is not only that you get punished for what the crimes that you have committed, but also it is an opportunity to reform yourself. So then you come out as a good citizen. So similarly, this material world has suffering not only as a reaction, as a punishment for the wrong activities we have done, but also to help us reform. And if indeed everybody comes to their spiritual senses and does this and goes back and the material world becomes empty, that's wonderful. But that's only a hypothetical situation, because practically it will not happen. It's like saying how nice it would be if there would be no criminals in the country. The jails will be empty. Then what will happen to the jails? Won't it be a wonderful thing if there is no need for a jail? Yes, but the point is that realistically speaking, that's not going to happen. There will always be some people who are criminals. So this will go on. So if we behave well in the jail, we are given some proper facility. And somehow or the other, if you please the king, then the king will order the warden, oh, okay, you release this particular prisoner. That king is Lord Krishna. And the warden is Durga Devi. This material world is like a prison. A prison has high walls, like a fortress. Durga means a fortress. Durga is the superintendent of that fortress. So she has her trishul, her spears, and she impales us with it and gives us all the kind of miseries. She's not a cruel person, inasmuch as the warden of a jail is not a cruel person. When the warden puts somebody in solitary confinement, you can't blame the warden, such a cruel man, just see what he has done. He's only fulfilling the orders. So Durga Devi gives us all these bodies and she inflicts so much suffering upon us. So how do you get relief from these sufferings of the jail? Not just by pleasing the warden. By pleasing the warden, you can get a little bit of relief. You can go from maybe a little extra food or some little extra time with the television or something like that. But the really intelligent person will want to get out of the jail. For that, he has to please the king. So if you want to come out of the jail, we have to please Lord Krishna. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. He says this material world is my divine energy. It is impossible to cross over. Meaning that by one's own effort alone, one cannot cross over this fortress of the material world and reach that spiritual world. It's not possible. But if we surrender to Krishna, Mam eva prapadyante, Krishna says if that person surrenders to me, Mayam etam tarantite, then I'll help this person cross over this prison and come back to my abode, the spiritual world. Okay?
I had a question sort of related to that.
Yes.
You said that obviously there can be there's always going to be criminals here in the material world, but in the spiritual world, there's a set number of souls, right? There aren't any more being created. So how does then that work with the material world situation that there's always going to be people here? If eventually everyone will go back to the spiritual world.
Okay, your question is if in the spiritual world there's a set number of souls, and if here people in the material world keep going back, and new souls are not being created,
here, right? So
then how is things going to work out here? For one thing, there's no set number of souls in the spiritual world. It's infinite. It's beyond our ability to calculate. It's not even finite. The spiritual world cannot be limited by space and time and number like we do in the material world. Secondly, even in the material world, the number of souls who are trapped here is so enormous. Even that is beyond our calculation. Just to give you an illustration, you cannot even count the number of spirit souls in this one room here. How? How is that?
Microorganisms.
So many microbes and germs. They are also entities, and they have spirit souls. Millions in our own body. And plus every cubic centimeter of air has some bacteria, some germs all over. So if you look at this one room, there's an unlimited number practically of living entities. Now expand it to, what's the Epsom, the whole of Epsom, how much? Then look at this county or district, then look at the country, look at Europe, look at the Earth. And Earth is just one tiny planet. So what numbers are we talking about? Humongous numbers. Numbers beyond our imagination, even in the material world. So the numbers of insects, of bacteria, of birds, of this, of that, if you look at it all, changes in the population of a particular species is so insignificant. It really doesn't matter. Another point is that the number of spirit souls who will go back to the spiritual world from the material world is quite small. It's not, like everyday traffic that goes on in large numbers. It's not an easy thing. And most people in the material world don't want to go back to Godhead. So the number is rather slim. So this is just a brief hint. There are more things to say on this, but this is a brief answer. Okay? Yes?
I'm just wondering, do we really have to leave this material world to, attain that kind of, spiritual enlightenment? How do we get the best of both worlds?
You can do it.
It's a wonderful tale after all.
You can make the best of both worlds up to a point. If you become a devotee of Lord Krishna, then automatically you will experience so much happiness in your life that you get the best of the material world, and you'll also get spiritual happiness. At the same time, we should know that this material world is fundamentally a bad bargain. So when you say making best of both worlds, it means making the best of a bad bargain. So you cannot really be happy. It's just like a prisoner saying, how can I just have the best of both worlds here inside the prison? What would you say? Maybe I need instead of a class 3 prison, I want to go to a class 1 prison, a room in the prison. And maybe I should get some extra time out in the field. Maybe I should get less of the workload. Maybe I should get a special TV in my room. Right? That's the most we can do. How else can you get best of both worlds inside the prison? It's not possible. The intelligent thing to do is to seek to leave the prison. So we have to understand first of all what the condition in the prison is, how horrible it is. And we also have to understand that there is a real world out there beyond the prison. We have to get information of that. If we don't realize how miserable the material world is, or the prison is, then we will just continue to stay in the prison thinking, I'll make the best of what's here, I'll make the best of both worlds. But people who have no choice, they will say that. Someone is sentenced to life. There's no choice but to try to make the best use of a bad bargain. But if somebody has a choice, the intelligent thing to do is to see how can I leave this prison legitimately.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes? Any other questions? Yes.
We were initially in the spiritual world. And then how did we, this question we also.
Where we were, let us leave it aside. We were somewhere. We were somewhere. We had a choice to come to the spiritual world or to come to the material world. We took a wrong turn. We came here. Our GPS failed us. And we came here And now the GPS is taking us round and round and round and round and round. So now we have to say, give up this GPS and take another GPS, which is GSS, Guru Sadhu Shastra. This Guru Sadhu Shastra will help us to get back there. Yes? This material world is also compared to an ocean. And all the living entities in this world are like, almost drowning in this ocean, struggling for existence, somehow trying to keep themselves afloat. And if there's a boat that goes there to save them, come on, come into the boat. And you say, first tell me how I got here. Or like, forget, just come out now. You're already in a miserable condition, trying to struggle in the water, just come out. Yes? Any other questions? Last, yes.
Madan Prabhu is so nicely inspired all the devotees to come here. He keeps inspiring again and again, trying hard and more, doing more and more. So devotees have come here now, and they come here and come here again. So I wanted to ask, for the benefit of all of us, what's true association? So just coming together in a room, is that a true association, or would your guidance be on certain aspects that when we come together, what should we really be doing? What should we really, our consciousness should be, so that when we leave, we have a higher consciousness than when we came in?
Yes, that's a very important question. What does it mean to say that we come to the association of devotees? What should we do and what should we not do? Naturally, we should not do anything that is not for our spiritual benefit. So there are so many other types of association available where people come together for making material advancement. But we are not here for that. When we come to the association of spiritually minded people, our goal is to discuss topics connected with spiritual advancement and engage in spiritual activities. For example, when we come together for a satsang like this, we would not be happily discussing football scores and cricket scores and gossiping about what's happening in this family or that home or this or that or something. No, we are here for spiritual purposes, and we should focus on spiritual topics and spiritual activities. That should be the approach. Not anything else. Very hard to do that. Not easy. In this world, we are so accustomed to talking of so many other topics. We are so accustomed to doing materialistic activities. And if we are suddenly to just give up all of those, in the sense that don't talk about things that have no spiritual relevance, it's not easy. But it needs practice. So, Madan Mohan Govinda Prabhu, thank you for arranging this program. I'm happy I could come here and assist you in your cultivation of devotees and spreading Krishna consciousness nicely through Bhakti Vriksha program.